All right, let's get into this story. It's really a fascinating look at how something that was literally dying, a forgotten garden, ended up becoming the very place where connection and community could take root and, well, grow. It's a powerful case study about how we can build bridges, not just between our houses, but between generations.
I mean, that line right there, it just paints such a vivid picture, doesn't it? Think about that. A garden that used to be a source of real pride and happiness is now just a mirror of the owner's inner world. It's a visible symbol of pain, of shame, of being completely cut off. This wasn't just a few weeds. It was a public broadcast of a very private struggle.
And this is the question at the very heart of this whole thing. It really pushes us to look past the obvious, to look beyond the overgrown mess and see the human needs simmering just beneath the surface. It suggests that maybe, just maybe, the answers we're looking for are right there in front of us the whole time.
Okay, so to really understand how the bridge got built, we first have to get a clear picture of the two isolated islands it was meant to connect. Our story starts with two people living what felt like a million miles apart, but who are actually just right across the street from each other. So first up, we meet Mrs. Chen. She's 78, and she's dealing with severe arthritis that's basically stolen her ability to do the one thing she truly loved, gardening. And this wasn't just a physical problem. It snowballed into this profound loss of joy, this deep, heavy shame, and, to top it all off, a mailbox that was just filling up with angry warnings from her homeowners association.
What's so telling about this slide is how it lays out this empathy gap, right? It's the core of the conflict. For Mrs. Chen, her reality is pain, it's limitation, it's this private shame. But from the HOA's point of view, she's not a person in pain. She's a property problem. What was her cherished refuge is now just a public eyesore that's dragging down property values. That disconnect is just a textbook portrait of social isolation.
And then we have Jake. He's 17, and he's trapped in his own kind of prison. His parents' divorce is recent, and it's left him just adrift in this sea of anger and feeling totally abandoned. He's just as isolated as Mrs. Chen, but his version of decline is invisible. It's all hidden behind that quiet fury that teenagers do so well.
So you've got these two people, totally locked in their own separate struggles. What on earth could break that cycle? Well, as we're about to see, it wasn't some grand gesture or a big community meeting. Nope, it was something incredibly small, a simple act that would end up becoming a bridge.
This is how it all started. It begins with just an observation. Jake sees Mrs. Chen struggling to reach a tool, so he walks over and grabs it for her. Simple. But the magic, the real turning point, is what happens next. He hears something in her voice, and he just impulsively offers to help with the entire garden. And in that moment, Mrs. Chen makes a huge choice. She decides to let go of her pride and just accept.
And this quote from Jake, wow, it just says everything, doesn't it? This wasn't just him being a nice kid. He wasn't just doing charity work. Sure, he saw her need, but he was also speaking his own need out loud. By offering to fix her garden, he was actually trying to find a place to put all his anger, something to do with his time. The truth is, he needed that garden just as much as it needed him.
And this brings us right to the heart of this whole thing, sociologically speaking. How did a simple offer turn into this deep, life-changing friendship? Well, the answer was in the work itself. The shared physical labor, pulling weeds and turning soil, that became the unexpected vehicle for empathy and a real emotional bond.
And this didn't happen overnight. It started with Jake just doing a heavy lifting, clearing out all the old, dead stuff. But pretty soon, Mrs. Chen started teaching him from her chair, turning her physical limitation into a position of mentorship. And while they worked, that quiet space started to fill up with stories about her life, her late husband, and why this garden meant so much. And slowly, so slowly, the whole thing shifted. It went from being her project to their project.
Let's just go back to that key moment for a second. The source material uses this one very important word, resignation. That's what Jake heard in her voice. It wasn't just sadness. It was the sound of someone who had given up on something they loved, someone who was accepting decline as a fact of life. And hearing that sound, that's what made him do more than just be polite.
So what was the result of all this hard work and storytelling? Well, the harvest was so much bigger than just a few pretty flowers. It was a total transformation, from this intensely private shame to a powerful shared pride.
And here it is, the big lesson, and Mrs. Chen just says it perfectly.
She came to realize that trying to be totally self-sufficient was actually the thing that was isolating her. By finally asking for help and, more importantly, accepting it, she wasn't showing weakness. No, she was opening the door to the very connection she needed to feel alive again.
You can literally see the ripple effect right here. The HOA complaint letters, they just stopped coming. Mrs. Chen's heavy sense of shame, it was replaced by pride. And for Jake, all that aimless anger got channeled into a real sense of purpose. In fact, his mom even said she hadn't seen him genuinely happy like that since the divorce. So when you boil it all down, what does it come to? Two. Just two. Two lives completely changed for the better. It all started with one messy garden and one simple offer. This was never just a landscaping project. It was a human restoration project.
So let's zoom out. Let's look at the lasting impact of this whole thing 5 years down the road, because this story offers a really profound lesson on something called the principle of interdependence. 5 years later, the changes are undeniable. The garden, it's thriving. Jake, that angry kid, found such a purpose that he's now in college studying environmental science. Mrs. Chen has come to accept her physical limits, not as a failure, but just as a natural part of life. And maybe best of all, the garden itself has become this wonderful, shared space for the whole community. And that's it. That's the final powerful takeaway. The shift in language from my to our says it all. The beauty of that garden is no longer resting on one person's shoulders. Its strength comes from the community. It's living proof that we are so much stronger and the things we build are so much more resilient when we build them together.
So, as we wrap this up, the story kind of leaves us with a question, doesn't it? It's about learning to see the dying gardens in our own lives and recognizing them not as problems, but as opportunities. So, who in your world, young or old, could you build a bridge to? What shared project is just waiting for you to start it?